Let's be honest, when you picture the Aztecs, you probably think of huge pyramids, tough warriors, and a lot of human sacrifice. We imagine this harsh, warlike empire that was all about conquering others. But what if I told you that a lot of that is a simplified, wrong idea? That the real story of the people the Spanish met is way more complex, clever, and interesting than what history books usually tell us. Forget the simple story for a moment. We're about to uncover the truths behind a floating mega-city that made European capitals look small and a society where school was required for everyone. But getting drunk could get you killed. And we'll start with the biggest secret of all, the name Aztec itself. Section 1. They weren't called Aztecs. First things first, the people we call the Aztecs didn't call themselves Aztecs. That name was given to them centuries later by European historians. The people who actually built the great city of Tenochtitlan called themselves the Mexica, pronounced Mexica. This name is where the name Mexico comes from, and Mexico City sits right on top of the old Mexica capital today. The name Aztec comes from Aztlan, the place their stories said they came from, and it was used for a bunch of different tribes, not just the Mexica. In fact, their own war god, Huitzilopochtli, told them to drop that name and become the Mexica to be their own people. So for the rest of this journey, we'll call them by their true name, the Mexica. Section 2. An empire built on payments, not full control. When you think of an empire, you probably picture something like Rome, with its armies controlling every single piece of land they took over. The Mexica didn't do that. Their empire, created in 1428 with two other city-states in what was called the Triple Alliance, wasn't about taking over completely. It was all about collecting payments or tribute. When the Mexica conquered a town, they usually let the local leaders stay in power. There was just one rule you couldn't break: you had to pay them. This payment wasn't money. It was a constant flow of the best things each area had to offer: food, cloth, valuable jewels, and even jaguar skins. This system made the capital, Tenochtitlan, incredibly rich, all without the trouble of trying to control every little thing in hundreds of angry towns. It was a smart and tough way to rule from a distance. Section 3. The floating mega-city of Tenochtitlan. At its most powerful, Tenochtitlan was an amazing work of engineering that was much bigger than most European cities, with around 200,000 people. For comparison, London at that time had about 50,000. And the craziest part, it was built on an island in the middle of a swampy lake. The Mexica were master builders. They built huge stone bridges to connect the island to the mainland and special channels to bring in fresh water. To feed everyone, they invented chinampas, often called floating gardens. These were man-made islands created by piling up rich mud from the bottom of the lake into woven frames. This fertile land could grow lots of food multiple times a year, which made the city powerful and able to feed itself. Canals were used like streets, with thousands of canoes moving around. It was a lively city of water, like nothing else on Earth. Section 4. The real goal of war: capture, not kill. The image of the tough Mexican warrior is well known, but their goal in battle was completely different from what you might think. While they were taking over land, the main goal on the battlefield wasn't to kill the enemy, it was to capture them alive. How respected a warrior was in society was based on how many prisoners they took. Why? Because these prisoners were going to be used for human sacrifice. Battles were often like special contests to get prisoners for religious ceremonies that they believed kept the universe in order. This strong connection between war and religion meant their wars were a holy mission as much as a mission for power, making sure they always had enough offerings for their gods. Section 5. School for every single child. At a time when school in Europe was only for the rich, the Mexica Empire had school that every free child had to go to, no matter if they were rich or poor, boy or girl. This was almost unheard of in the 16th century world. Since the children of slaves were born free, This system was amazingly open to everyone for its time. Boys and girls went to different schools. Boys from regular families went to the Telpokali, or House of Youth, to learn history, religion, and how to fight. Children of leaders, along with very smart children from regular families, went to the special conquest to be trained as priests, judges, or people who would help run the empire. Girls' education focused on religion and skills for the home, like weaving, which was very important for the empire's money and goods. Every child was taught how to act the right way, making sure that Mexica beliefs were passed down to everyone. Section 6. A social ladder with strict rules. Mexica society had very strict levels. The two main groups were the nobles, Spipleton, and the regular people, Masualton, and the law made sure everyone knew their place. Nobles lived in large stone houses, sometimes with their own steam baths, and wore fancy, decorated cotton clothes. Regular people lived in smaller huts and wore simpler clothes made from plant fibers. And these rules were serious. If a regular person wore cotton or put feathers on their clothes, it was a crime that could be punished by death. Even the color of your cloak was controlled by rules. Only the emperor, the Huitlatlani, was allowed to wear a turquoise-colored cloak. While you could move up in society by being a brave warrior, these strict rules kept their complicated society running smoothly. Section 7. Feathers were more valuable than gold. When the Spanish arrived, they were obsessed with gold. But for the Mexica, something else was often seen as even more valuable: feathers. The shiny green tail feathers of the resplendent quetzal were the most special and expensive item. These feathers were brought from faraway tropical forests and woven into amazing pictures, warrior outfits, and huge headdresses. Working with feathers was seen as a more respected type of art than even working with gold, and the skilled workers, known as amantica, were very respected in society. Gold was valuable, yes, but it didn't have the same top-level importance as these shiny symbols of the gods and power. Section 8. A diet of special foods and insects. The main part of the Mexica diet was corn, beans, and squash, as well as tomatoes and chili peppers, but their food was much more daring than that. They ate turkey, duck, and a special kind of hairless dog that was raised for its meat. They also ate lots of other things for protein, from fish and frogs to snakes and insects, which were a common and healthy special food. And of course, the Mexica gave the world chocolate. Cacao beans were so valuable they were even used like money. Their famous chocolate drink, however, was nothing like hot cocoa. It was a bitter, foamy drink, often spiced with chili, and was only for kings and great warriors. Section 9. The law against getting drunk. Now, here's a rule that might surprise you. The Mexica had very harsh laws against being drunk in public. Their main alcoholic drink was pulque, made from the juice of the agave plant that was turned into alcohol. If a regular person was found drunk in public, the first time it happened their head could be shaved as a sign of shame. A second time could mean death. For a noble, there were no second chances. The punishment was quick and harsh, from losing their high rank to being killed in secret. The Mexica believed that being drunk was what caused problems and ruined society. There was, however, one great exception: older people. Once you turned 70, you were allowed to drink as much pulque as you wanted, a special right you earned after a lifetime of hard work. Section 10. The daily bathing habit. In 16th century Europe, bathing wasn't a big concern. For the Mexica, however, being clean was a huge deal. Bathing was an important daily habit for everyone, no matter what social group they were in. Many homes, especially those of the nobles, had a special steam bath called a temazcal. Inside, water was poured over hot stones to create a steam that would clean you. This was something that cleaned both your body and your spirit. This love of cleanliness was part of their belief in keeping things orderly and controlled, and it completely breaks the old idea of ancient peoples being backwards. It's said the Spanish were shocked when they first saw the amazing, shining, and clean capital of the Mexica. CTA. The Mexico world was interesting and full of details, and we're still learning its secrets. If you learn something new, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss our next look into other misunderstood groups from history. Let us know in the comments which of these facts surprised you the most. Conclusion. From their true name to their amazing floating city, from school for everyone to their unique beliefs, the Mexica were far more than simple characters in history. They were brilliant builders, clever managers, and creators of a society with many rules that cared about poetry and art just as much as fighting and sacrifice. Their empire, which seemed like it could never be beaten, fell with shocking speed, but what they left behind still exists. In the flag of Mexico, in the food we eat, and in the incredible ruins of their great temple, still standing in the heart of one of the world's largest cities. A reminder that will last forever of the mighty Mexica.